Hi, everybody. Welcome to Avatar: The Last Podcasters. Hey, Chris, that's nice swag. I got some of my own, although the lighting is killing it. That's joined today by the Blue Spirit. My name's Aang. How you doing? Oh, the light's killing my hair. Here, let me...
Oh, that's a nice hat, yeah.
Got to get better hat lighting in here. Welcome to Avatar: The Last Podcasters. This week, we are trying to spice things up, add a little controversy, because that's what Chris likes to do. But before we get to that, Chris, how was your week? How you been, other than the current mild illness?
My week has been pretty good. I got a new bathtub shower thing installed, but I had to do the mud drywall work around it myself because I got an estimate from somebody, and they said it'll be $1,400. I was like, you know what? I can do that myself. And I did it, and I'm done. I primed it and everything. Looks about how well as I thought it would look. So yeah.
That's the biggest thing when I do stuff myself. Heather's like, well, it's not supposed to be... what am I thinking here? Like, it's not supposed to be perfect. I was like, yeah, but when I do it, I can get mad at me. When somebody else does it, I just wait till they leave, and then I just grumble about it for a few months, and that makes me happy. Like, those damn contractors didn't do a good job, blah, blah. But if I did it, I feel like I gotta fix it or something. I'm not handy at all. I hate trying to do stuff myself in my house. I do like electrical. I have an odd affinity for electrical. I don't know why.
What?
Like changing outlets.
Okay.
Adding,
yeah, I can do all that.
Yeah.
Change lighting fixtures. I put in 4 different ceiling fans since I moved in.
Yep, that type of thing. I don't really want to do the finishing around it, even to the extent of using the rest of our breaker box. We had 2 slots that were unused, and we used it to add a new outlet to the room. So little things like that. I don't know why. That's about the only palatable thing. So that's unrelated to anything.
Really, now putting in a toilet is like very easy. I've read, but I don't trust myself. I'm like, nope, not gonna do it because if something backs up, then the water gets into the ceiling, and then depending on what floor it's on, and then that's gonna cause damage, and no, I'll just pay someone $100 to install a toilet for me.
It's not that you couldn't install a toilet, it's just that the room for error before you literally get shit other places is very minimal, I think. But at the other hand, I think if you're doing the whole toilet, right, just flush it a few times, get it good and clean, get it emptied out, turn the water off, and then there's really just like 2 or 3 bolts kind of underneath it, and then you just got to put like that new wax. So if you're like doing the whole toilet, if you're replacing the whole toilet, it's probably not that bad.
Yeah, that's what
I would say if you're putting a new one in that doesn't like fit, or you're moving it or something, I bet that sucks.
No, I mean just replace it. I just don't really trust myself to replace it, even though it seems very easy.
Man, I think it's just a couple of screws and that bolts and with wing nuts and that like wax ring. I think you could probably do it.
Yeah, I don't trust myself. I get it. I know it. I know the steps. I've watched videos of it. But nah,
it's a shitty situation.
I'm not paying for people to. I'm not paying for people to install it. I'm paying for the insurance that it's going to be.
You're paying for the peace of mind. Is really what you're paying for. Chris, the Dragon Prince new season you told me dropped today. So what's today? Thursday, November. Is it the 3rd or the 4th? Right now. I feel like it's the 4th right now. Is that true?
Oh, dang it! My dad's
it's the 3rd. Yeah. So Dragon Prince dropped today, November 3rd. And I haven't finished watching like any of the other shows. That's not true. I finished the House of the Dragon that was available, and the Rings of Power that was available.
I haven't finished it.
I'd say I had kind of the same-ish opinion on both of them, which is like, that was fine, but
I loved House of the Dragon. That was great.
Man, you and I just have different... Like, you love that drama. I don't even like the HBO drama formula at all anymore. I'm
the thing is that I am like... I sometimes don't like it because I don't feel like feeling anxiety right now, and that
Oh.
show, no show has ever given me that much anxiety than House of the Dragon.
I just yeah, I'm gonna refer to it as like the HBO drama formula, and it's just not something I've ever really enjoyed. Like in all the parts of House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones I do legitimately enjoy and will watch it for, none of them are that. But that's fine. It's extremely popular. The production value is amazing. I would say in both shows, I thought Ring of Power is a very attractive looking and sounding show, in my opinion.
Yeah, probably too
Um,
expensive to be honest.
I tried to finish this unrelated, really. Well, it's kind of related. I tried really hard to finish Stranger Things the other day when I was like at a work from home day where I had no meetings. It's like I got like 4 episodes left. I need to go do that. I hate season 4. I don't
Hmm.
really like teenage drama any more than I do HBO drama. And most of season 4 is just like teenagers being teenagers, and I don't need that in my life either. So
I really know liked it, but I look back on it, I'm like, man, that's a terrible story plot. That's a terrible story plot. Like the whole Hopper thing in Russia, and
Hopper should have
somehow
just
I
been
forgot her
dead.
name.
Just let him die. It was a great ending to the
Yeah,
season. You
she
just
was,
cheapened it. Uh,
yeah, she just
and
and then the
then
stuff with Mike, that storyline,
yeah, I
I
don't
felt
care about that.
was there was something wrong with it that I didn't like, but I don't remember exactly. So
The
really, just like
the
I only
girl's
cared about like the
plot,
one storyline.
the girl's plot to like visit the person in the asylum. I hope that's a correct word. I apologize if it's not. They're like plot to
I think
visit, and then he like lets them in, and then he goes and calls the police. Like, what? What do you do? But I will clarify. I don't like it at all. I will still watch season. I don't not like it to the extent that when the next season comes out that I just won't watch it at all. It's just gonna dampen my excitement. That's all.
so. All right, so changing gears completely here, but so I bought this mask, right? I bought it from Spencer's.
Interesting.
And the thing is, I go into Spencer's sometimes because they sell, besides the back of the
T-shirts.
store, they sell pretty normal stuff. Yeah, they sell T-shirts and stuff.
T-shirts for
But
days.
I bought two masks, but only one mask came, so I had to call their like hotline, and my voice was worse than this. And then like they had like a like dial something for like this certain product line. Like this is so weird.
I despise automated telephone menus more than I despise Stranger Things season 4. The Spencer's hotline though made you miss the fun of going into Spencer's. That's crazy. Chris, let's talk about the episode at hand. It's a spicy one, I think. But
We should first
but
1 minute. Our alma maters are playing against each other tonight, or they already did.
they
I
did.
don't know who won it
Uh,
because one thing I'm pretty sure KU won.
KU won. There was a point where Pitt State was up 21-6, and then
Yeah,
and then and then KU's like, hey, like
and police.
you know which goals are right? It's like, hey, we're like, guys, we got to stop doing our best impression of the Lakers, and we got to like actually try to win this game. And then it was from there. It was like it was a very big differential from that point, but.
Nah,
Um, no offense, like you know what? Some offense, Lakers. The Lakers are so bad that every time they win a game, it's literally a headline on ESPN on the front page of ESPN. It'll be like Lakers 3 from former grocery store clerk wins game. It's like that's their second win. Is that a headline? It's not a
you
headline.
know what? This NBA season's weird. Utah Jazz are winning games for some
I
reason.
don't
Like, are you
understand
supposed
that.
to be tanking?
The Cleveland
Uh,
Cavaliers look really,
like,
really good, which I do understand, but I don't care for particularly.
the Warriors has lost four straight. They're down, like, I think 200, 500.
Kyrie is
Uh,
insane. The Nets are going to hire the suspended Celtics coach. Like, it's a weird year.
yeah, what the heck? Oh, and they just suspended Kyrie Irving, like, indefinitely.
Which I'm not saying he deserves it for this specifically. Like, I don't know that the punishment. I don't know how you punish his current behaviors appropriately. But man, I would just say Kyrie Irving's a lot to deal with. So try your best.
It's one of those fake woke people that
I think he needs help personally, but I don't want to also like he's got problems. I don't want to be that guy either. But I
don't think he needs help. I just think he needs a little education. Like Kanye West needs help. He needs.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, you're right. I probably went too extreme there. I will say it's just funny. It's like, listen, the Nets like call the Celtics up. Hey, you know you're not using your coach. They're like, oh, that guy that broke like pretty serious team rules, and they're like, yeah.
He'll just be our third issue.
Can we listen? He's suspended behind
Kyrie Irving and Ben Simmons. You know what? A coach who's shady.
Not the biggest. Why not, man? Yeah. Maybe Kevin Durant will start committing crimes just to fit in. You know, who knows? Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Poor Avatar talk.
Poor guy Durant.
Oh god.
Poor guy. Anyway, he knew what was happening. He tried to get out, man. He tried.
Yeah.
He knew what was up. Let's talk Avatar, Chris. But before we get real crazy, I just want to say something very important. And that is that the first thing you told me also, the flip side of this episode does exist. And it will happen sometime. And that's probably the most important thing you take away from this episode.
No. There's no flip side. This is for the Legends of Korra fans.
I just threw a sock at a wall. This is serious.
It's for the LK fans who feel like they get crapped on, who want some defense for the Legends of Korra, and why it 5 things it does better than Avatar: Last Airbender. And yeah, there will be.
I think it's very important that you take away from this that there is a flip side, and you can go ahead and let your imagination start filling in the gaps. And I think that's important. Chris,
we will do the second part of this, which is the things that Avatar does better than Legend of Korra. And you know what? We're fair over here. We're objective, if you will.
Half of us are objective. The other half of us just talk a lot. Chris, I'm gonna tee these up. We've got 3 honorable mentions that I'm just gonna put together in a chunk for you, and then we've got a top 5. That sound all right?
Cool.
All right. So the honorable mentions were.
We should say that these were mine. Oh, these are my selections. And Shawn can agree and disagree with them as he wants.
Chris, as I look through these, I have to say that my arguments are pretty boring. You know what? We'll get to it when we get to it. It's pretty repetitive. Okay. But overall, I really like your list. I think you did a great job. These are Chris's ideas, so I'm going to tee him up, and he's going to drop the mic. Chris, the honorable mentions. There's 3 of them here that I'll let you lump in a group. Higher stakes, the score, and the voice acting, by which I took to mean like the quality of the voice acting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So higher stakes. Whether it's for losing her, the stakes are high. Like the world's, both of them are like fairly have high stakes. But there's a little bit more personal stakes. Especially with Korra, like losing her bending, being paralyzed, things like that. And then you have just those high stakes, which some could view as a negative, and I think that's a valid conversation there. Like with Unavatu and stuff. If people don't like that, I think that's a fine disagreement there. I think there's just more personal stakes, which to me is higher stakes.
I think the score is more dynamic. I agree with that one. The voice acting, I would say partially it's due to they're just older voice actors, right? They're more so
exactly. Yeah, that is pretty much why.
And that's fine. It still makes it a truth. I think it's still an accurate statement. And then the higher stakes, I think you hit the important point, which there's always going to be weirdos like me, where higher stakes does not equate to better television. But it does put stakes on the table better, more of them, 1 per season, as opposed to kind of one big set. So I would say I don't really have any qualms whatsoever there. I will just speak up for the people who, the people who don't like that Marvel like has always got the whole save the whole universe thing. Like sometimes we just want Batman to save Gotham, you know. It does not equate to better television, but they do stakes
Mhm.
better, generally speaking. I'm okay with that. You ready to go to number 5?
Numero
Numero cinco.
20.
Uh,
Oh my gosh.
Chris. Hey, we gotta finish so you can go to bed, man. Chris, I heard you say I'm tired, which I've heard you say like 5 times ever in the history of this podcast. Number 5 is age diversity.
Ooh, yeah, age diversity. So Avatar is like when I say Avatar, I'm referring to Avatar Last Airbender. When I say Korra, I'm referring to all of Legend Korra in this aspect. Avatar has like 10 to 15-year-olds, then 80-year-olds, and those are like it won't really only like one 80-year-old really matters, and that's a lie.
There's
Actually,
one
I
40
probably
year
like
old
to
man in
skip.
the show, and he's the bad guy.
Yeah. While Legend of Korra has like 5 to 60, and there's gradual gaps in it, right? You got Milo, who's a really good fighter. Who are our main characters in Team Avatar are about 17, 18-year-olds. But you have Lin Beifong, you have Tenzin, you have more her sister. The villains are varied ages. Actually, they all seem like they're like 35 to 40-year-old ages. Probably, yeah, somewhere around there. But and then you have really old people, whether it's Zuko or Toph. So just a little more age diversity, which I think is really good to see, where these people are at in their lives. I think that how they balance certain aspects. But I'll get more into that possibly later.
For the key, I mean, if you nitpick in Avatar, yeah, you can go find different people at different ages. But in Avatar, the vast majority of the voices that you hear, the ones you actually like interact with on the television, is of a very narrow age group, and I will agree that it benefits Korra. And I don't I think the only argument you could go against that is just there again. Maybe it's like a target age range of the show. Like, well, it doesn't have to because or something like. But I think
Okay.
that's a very fair statement, and I agree with it wholeheartedly. Number.
Yeah, I mean, you also
Sorry.
get. I'm sorry. You also get characters dealing with different. I think I might have mentioned this. Different things. Well, just different jobs and responsibilities and roles. And age does something to you, right? Just that experience of having no experience and having a lot of experience and being completely young and fresh. Just interesting concepts, I think there.
They just get explored more with the characters that we interact with the most regularly on screen, especially. Chris, number 4, you put more thrilling pace.
More thrilling pace, yes. So this is hard because this can be. I think a lot of these things could be a plus or a minus to you, depending on your preference. Now, I love the Avatar. You can watch pretty much an episode, be like, all right, that was a very self-contained episode. But when it comes to editing and pacing something, Legend of Korra, I think, does it so well. On different aspects. Like, I have to watch a lot of the next episodes, especially like season 3. Once you get past about episode, I don't know,
7?
I want to say 7. It's like, all right, I gotta watch. I just gotta keep watching right from there.
I think I
And season
watched
one
when we were
has,
covering those. I think I watched 7 through the end. Like I watched 7 through the end, then I watched 9 through the end, then I watched 11, 12, whatever there is. Like I did it like 3 or 4
yeah,
times.
yeah. There is something about that thrilling pace of television. Season 1 does it also. Season 4 doesn't really do it. Season 4 is it's a little more choppy. Season 2, I think, does it after beginnings. Yeah, after beginnings. Like it's like midway through. But there's just something really fun about a really fast pace, moving at a good kind of thrilling pace to really keep you sensitive and paying attention. Like currently, I'm watching Naruto, which has been a really good watch. Which also has also related the previous conversation that we had about death and stuff. But right now I'm at a point where like, oh yeah, I just want to watch the next episode, the next episode, the next episode. And like, there's something really entertaining about that you get really hooked. Right, really get your hooks in. Yeah.
I think the only argument I have in opposition, I would say in general I agree, and in general, if people step back, if they, you know, where ESPN does that thing where it's like, all right, we're going to show you player A and player B, but we're not going to tell you which is which. If they just showed you these two things, they would be like the B, which in this case is Korra, like represents a more modern type of television show where you're meant to binge a whole season. For example, you're meant to grab that 10 episode storyline or whatever. So I think if most people really looked at it objectively, they would agree. I will still have a slight argument in favor of, I love that Avatar: The Last Airbender does, I mean, it does take its time, and there is filler, and there's no denying that, but to like takes a big chunk of time to tell one really big story. I don't feel like we get that very often, or at least I can't think of other good examples, because every television show is always looking for like the hook for the next season. I miss that. Again, that doesn't equate to better television. It's something I can't think of other good examples of.
Yeah, that's very fair. And the thing is that it's gonna sound dumb or contradictory, but when we get to doing the things that Avatar does better, there might be things that are somewhat the opposite of this list.
Yeah, and that's possibly going to be one of, like, in one, you get this sort of modern bingey that the pace is undeniably faster, but on the other hand, seeing that other side is nice and charming. And if you have other good examples, you got to hit me up with those, because it's nice to have a self-contained, this is the whole story and it's all there was to it and is all there ever was meant to be, and I like that. So, great point. I don't know why I set my phone down and turned it off, so I couldn't see your point. Number 3. This one might be my most contentious one, Chris.
Ooh.
You have action and animation. Action, I agree with. Animation, I don't know.
So I think without a doubt the animation improved. But so this is one of those things that it's because of Avatar that it's a direct correlation. Because Avatar's animation was so good, because they learned, like, all right, we can do this, and we can do this, we can do this, we can do this better here. They got better in Legend of Korra. And the animation is just so much crisper. Pretty much every season, even season 2 that has book 2 of Legend of Korra that has the worst animation of the seasons. I think this animation is still better for the most part. I'm sorry, people. Than Avatar: The Last Airbender. But they just got the. It's like it became more vibrant.
Oh, see, that's the one thing that I was going to argue opposite. I think it feels less vibrant. I think the colors on screen.
Really?
But so there's a theory, or I'm screwing up the name for it. A phenomenon where these things, like the rose-colored glasses, essentially is what I'm going to call it, but it's like a phenomenon for, like, when you look and have these memories and they have this sort of like bright extra vibrance to them, but then you realize, like, no, we were watching those in SD, they really didn't. But something about the color palette of Avatar: The Last Airbender and the things we were seeing always felt so much vibrant, whereas in Legend of Korra sometimes I feel like it's going for slightly more realistic sort of tones and things that I don't necessarily care for. So there again, it could be better, but it's the one where it's like, no, if I just want to watch Avatar more. Action, I'd say, is easy. Legend of Korra, there's a higher rate, or like a heavier proportion of action in Korra.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of fight scenes when it comes. Let me go back to animation. I think like the backgrounds in Legend of Korra, like some of the backgrounds are just absolutely beautiful. And listen to the commentary. Mike and Bryan, well, mostly Bryan because he's the art guy, they talk a lot about the backgrounds. They're like, yeah, we had painted these backgrounds, and stuff. And like, it's something they did that was so. If you just look at the backgrounds, and this is like getting probably too like pretentious, nerdy type of deal. Like, oh, Shawn, if you look at the backgrounds, they're really amazing. Um, but it's a really beautiful stuff. And again, it's a lot to me. It's a lot crisper. There was interesting. You're talking about color tone. And I think so. Season one, book one of Avatar, pretty much is all in blues, mostly in blues and stuff like that. So to me, that's a little duller. Season two is like, what is that? Sienna, kind of. Not Sienna. That's not what I'm. But it's like it follows Earth Kingdom type of stuff.
Browns,
And
greens.
then season three is more reddish hues.
Chris, what it reminds me of is like, this is probably a stupid analogy, but I'm gonna go with it anyway. It would be like if you were an N64 kid during that era, during the late 90s, and then in the 2000s, PS2 came out, and you needed that DVD player like my family did, and so you convinced your mom that was important. But then the games, at the time, we were stoked. But in hindsight, like, because they were going for like an extra layer of sort of depth and detail, like, it loses some of its vibrance, some of its brilliance, or some of its crisp simplicity, like a good cell shaded thing versus something trying to be a little more realistic. I keep saying realistic. Korra's not trying to be realistic, and just trying to have more detail packed in there.
I think, I think it's more detailed, definitely. But I'm gonna do hard disagree that it's like to me the backgrounds are really like I'm thinking of seeing like in Korra alone, and she's walking. You see her walking across like the world, and like those are just such beautiful shots. Stuff in Spirit World was really good.
The Spirit World's some of my favorite because you get more of it and you get more detail in it in Korra than you ever do tons more in Avatar. Yeah. So that's one of my favorite differences.
Yeah. And then also technology wise, Korra is a freaking HD. Like that does play different.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's almost like it's almost impossible to argue against it. And I do completely understand. I think it's fair that's there, but there's just something in my eyeballs, and it's probably just that nostalgia, and that's fine. Like, that's part of why I watch the show is nostalgia, is that just wants to see that bright, kind of flat, bright, crisp Avatar, original Avatar. Just like I want to play Dragon Quest VIII instead of like Final Fantasy. I want the nice.
To me, it might just be a turn, because to me the difference. This is simplifying it, but like I just said, it's like watching something in. To me, it's like Avatar. It's like watching something in 780p, and Legend of Korra. To me, it's like watching something in almost 4K.
Man, well,
to me, it's that big of a difference.
Well, you're probably looking essentially 720p for Korra, but then you're looking at like 240p probably for Avatar. Yeah. So it's like roughly the same proportion.
I couldn't even fathom. I wasn't counting pixels before 720, Shawn. So I wasn't.
One of my favorite random pieces of comedy, ever is like I was watching David Letterman, like a couple of months after the all broadcasting was forced to switch to HD, and then you had to like throw your old antennas away and stuff. And Dave just made a joke. He's like, yeah, this new HD is great. Like, look at how clear I am and everything. He's like, you probably don't remember because you're used to it already. But I mean, you don't even remember how bad SD looked. It used to look like this. And then he turned just like blurry, drunk vision of the whole screen for a second. And that's the first time I ever thought about it. So you're like, we didn't notice at the time. But now I pretty well noticed. But no, inevitable quality uptick. There's something in my brain that wants that simplicity.
Oh, and then I think when it comes to action, I think there's more better action scenes in The Legend of Korra than than Avatar. Avatar has some great ones, and a lot of them are more story driven. I'm just thinking about like boom boom action. I'm gonna give it to Legend of Korra. I mean, you have um, the fight between her and Zahir. I think is actually like better choreographed and more visually interesting than the fight. I say visually than the fight with Aang and Ozai. Now, to me, the Aang and Ozai stuff is I think it's really amazing. The best fight between any of the shows is probably the final Agni Kai between Zuko and Azula. Uh, Even that one's not like a well, like boom, boom, boom. That's a very dramatic action
Yeah.
scene, but it's not like the motion isn't what's catching my eye. Well, the motion isn't what's entertaining me necessarily. It's the story with it. And then you got like the Sun Yin versus Lin Bei Fong fight. Like the way they shot it, the way they did the pencil drawings on that, it's just to me it was another level in what they had with Avatar.
Chris, number 2. Realistic and relatable characters.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the biggest differences for me that really put Legend of Korra. One of the things that makes Legend of Korra, one thing is I don't want to say it's better. Anyway, you guys get what I'm saying. Realistic characters, I think to me was almost like too goody two shoes. Like, it was too perfect. And Avatar Last Airbender, as Joker says, brings him down to our level, right? Like, like he was more rounded as a character, which is why I would never complain about people calling A. Well, I complain about people calling A a bad father because I want to disagree with that sentiment. I hate when people say like, "Oh, they ruined his character." Like, no, they made him more realistic. People aren't perfect. Your parents aren't perfect. You have the best Avatar dad in the world. He's not going to be perfect because he has his own responsibilities, his biases, his own imperfections, and that made him real. Made him a tangible character. Toph, she was not the best mom. That made her so much more of an interesting character. Korra goes through like more realistic things, having to deal with a setback, like each season, having to work through it. That's like a more realistic, tangible story. Tenzin dealing with the weight of living up to the legacy of his father, like Mako Bolin, how they live on the street. I don't know, just all different types of things. To me, Legend of Korra has created more real characters that are more easily relatable.
I think that what you have stated is a verifiable fact. I do think this one, more than the other 4, is a place where I will argue that I do not feel that relatability or realism is necessarily correlated to more enjoyable television. Higher production value, sure. If you Chris, you're really into character stories, that's great. I would argue that like, again, I don't think I'm alone here. Being more
Yeah,
relatable
no,
and
that's
realistic doesn't always mean that much to me. But does it in a nutshell? In Legend of Korra, like, is it a much better job of doing it? Oh, hey Charlie, absolutely, hands down. And most people
yeah.
probably do appreciate that, or would if they would kind of there again if they kind of take their blinders off. I do think most people would appreciate that level of effort and improved storytelling.
Yeah, I think we've had like a little bit of this conversation before, like
Well, yeah,
especially between
absolutely.
like Aang's story and Korra's story, how much adversity Korra has to go through that feels like Aang's whole people has been killed and wiped out, but that doesn't feel like it's weighing down on him. Korra loses 3 of her bending, and she like, I'm not myself. Like, who am I? Like, which is a normal feeling. If your whole life you're able to do these things, and then those things define you. When someone takes that away from you, you're gonna feel a certain way about it. That's very real. But when it comes to like, some people might want to watch TV shows that have escapism. That's great.
I mean,
And so,
that's my whole taste in a
yeah,
nutshell. And I don't know that it's 50-50 or which side would be like minority or majority. But that doesn't, I will say again, that doesn't deflate the argument that there's a much
uh,
better, more detailed job of building these characters in a realistic, relatable way. It's very noticeable. But I do, like I said, I think this one more than the other four you have listed, it probably impacts, like preference probably impacts how much you care. I think more than
yeah.
the other ones. Chris, number one,
Numero
numero uno,
uno.
villains. Chris, I'm going to lead this one. I'm just going to say that was easy. It was a great choice. It was right at the top. I would be upset if anybody put up a real big fight. Because I don't... Oof. This is a good number one. It's a clear number one in my mind.
Yeah, yeah. Like,
there's more of them.
sorry.
Most of them are better. They're all more present in their seasons, right? It's like I can nitpick and be like, all right, well, maybe the worst villains in Korra aren't as good as, aren't as good as Ozai or whatever. But even, like, man, once you get past Ozai,
Well,
unless
so
you're just a
my boy got
huge fan of
a little
Azula, which
booklet.
I'm not. I will maintain that Azula is sort of overdone, overbaked.
Yeah, I love Azula. I really do. Man, I think did I just like completely clear my throat there?
To, I
Probably not.
don't
It'll
know,
probably
man. You
come back
sound
in.
pretty rough.
I still sound rough.
I think so.
I think I sound better than I did just a second ago.
Okay.
Anyway,
If you feel better, Chris, that's what's more important to me. If you feel better.
so to me, right, when we talk about villains, there's only one good villain, I think, in Avatar. Like I'm like, oh yeah, that's a really good villain, and that's Azula to me. Like
I
Zuko was antagonistic, but he's not even a villain. Like halfway through the show, you're waiting for him to join Team Avatar. Zhao was
it's also the
needed and
type
he
of
was
show it was. I
necessary.
think a third of the way for them through the show. Like maybe even as soon as you meet Iroh, you probably have a decent like, all right, this is gonna flip at some point.
Yeah,
That guy's not a bad.
I couldn't see Iroh punching Aang in the face. Like that was
Yeah.
never gonna happen.
Um.
So Zhao
Zhao was
served his
present
purpose
more,
as
but he
a
wasn't a good villain. Like he was just a
yeah. To
jerk who got
me,
promoted a lot.
yeah, to me, Zhao served the purpose of being a foil not to Aang but to Zuko.
Yeah.
So that didn't make him the greatest villain.
And he wasn't that good of a
Uh,
villain. He was just, I mean,
yeah.
he did a job.
So then you have Azula, which I think is an amazing villain, and then you have Ozai, who is like he is the goal. He is the obstacle in a way, and that's all he is. He's a one-dimensional obstacle to overcome.
His presence needed to be felt. He could have been a fine villain. I would say Azula. I'm like on a 4 and a 5 on Azula, a 2 and a 5 on Zhao. Ozai's presence needed to be felt like a little harder, a little more throughout the season. I don't know how you do that. It just like that's I don't know. That's what he needed to be a good villain, or a better
Yeah,
villain. But Korra, you just get lots of that villain presence the whole time, every season.
yeah. Like you
Um,
start off season one with Amon,
he's
who
probably
is
my
okay.
second favorite individual villain of Korra and ergo probably of the whole series, I guess, technically. Amon is great.
Yeah, Amon's great. Love him.
And you get
And
to
like
meet him in what,
he comes
episode 2?
in episode
End of
one.
2? End of 1 or end of 2? What really
I think
early,
it's
you
two.
meet him in person.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
and uh, and the thing about Korra's villains is that they all have maybe something wrong. They all have a really good reason. You just don't agree with their methods.
They all have kind of good motives or engaging motives. And even, I don't like book 2 of Korra
I love book two.
much
I
at
love book
all.
two.
I don't. But even what's his name is a very engaging villain. You're talking about a family member doing some dark art stuff who becomes a dark
Yeah,
avatar.
yeah.
That's pretty. Like he is probably the best part of season 2 for me personally. Is him as a villain. I would
Yeah. So
argue.
when I think about what formula makes a good villain, you think about power, threat level, power threat level, and then you think about their intentions and their motives. You think about their motives, and then you also think about their characteristics slash dialogue. I feel like Azula has like two out of those three, pretty much three, and then like three of the Legend of Korra villains has like all three. Like they're all major, huge threats. Maybe, yeah, they're all major, huge threats. They all have pretty good dialogue and characteristics, except for Unalaq.
Mm.
Unalaq,
But he's got a different, like his different origin, even kind of excuses that. Like he,
yeah, and also he's like the biggest threat there is ever
oh,
in the
but like
show. He becomes the
just the.
Dark Avatar.
So I'm gonna throw into your formula. Like if we're cooking up a
Yeah.
formula, I don't know if I want to say like presence or proximity. It's not that I want them in every episode, but I want to feel their presence every episode, like a good
Okay.
video
Yeah.
game. And if you're in a level where even if you don't know who the boss is till you get the end, there's like the big reveal, but like you feel the presence of a boss over a level, or I want to feel that the whole way through. And there's a lot of Avatar where you really don't. You might feel the villain of the day more than anything, and sometimes it's George Takei, which no, Chris, I thought this was a great top pick, an easy top pick. Not that literally everybody will agree, but it felt very like consensus caliber of a top pick.
Yeah.
And there's nothing
I
about
have
Avatar
to.
that's any better than Korra. End of the show. See you later. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. I'm an Avatar defender.
No, I love both shows pretty equally, honestly. I know that's hard for people to grasp, maybe, but the show that I love most is probably the one I just recently watched,
That's
and that
fair.
changes depending on what I recently watched.
And there's a lot of stuff that's going to come down to preference. And Chris, one of the things I appreciate about us is we watch TV and things for very, very different reasons. I think that's good. Hopefully that I can have like the clarity of mind to still debate certain caliber, certain detail, certain effort of such things, even while knowing in my heart of hearts, like, yeah, you know what? When I put Avatar: The Last Airbender on screen and I see Aang's bright colored outfit, I just instantly get happy, and that's visually what I want to see or whatever. Hopefully, I can separate those two things. But final thoughts: things Legend of Korra did better than Avatar. Let's hear the comments. Spice the comments up this week. Be
Ooh,
interested to
yeah.
hear your reactions to our picks or your alternate picks. If you have flip
Yeah.
side picks, comment whatever you want. Absolutely. But before you post that flip side pick, just remember we'll probably do another episode within the next few months or so. Chris,
Yep, I had this one on the docket for a while.
this will be a
Yeah,
good
sure.
one. We got holidays coming up and we need kind of easy to prep, self-contained things. So I'm sure it'll come up sooner than we know. But hey, next 2 weeks, we got something pretty fun for you all, I think. I think they're all fun. But something extra fun for you in the next 2 weeks. So keep your eyes peeled. My name's Shawn Shaler. That's my friend Chris Ford, a.k.a. The Objective Geek, of YouTube and Twitter
Keep
fame.
your
This
eyes peeled is
Advocate
a weird
podcaster.
saying. Eyes peeled.
Chris, you got
Sorry.
you got an eye bug down there. I had like when I don't know if it's the same illness. I was sick last week. It was like a sharp pain. It felt like something was poking the inside of my eye, like a very acute, sharp pinpoint pain in my eye. And for a while, I was like, "Those babies give me pink eye or what?" I don't know. They did not. It wasn't, but it was weird, and I did not like that feeling. But that's a random aside. That's a weird way to end the show. Hey, tune in next
Keep your eyes
week.
peeled.
Tune in next week And thank you so much for your time. We'll see you next time.
Adios, muchachos.
That actually sounded that extra gravel sounded really good when you said it. Do something with Batman. Give me a Batman something.
I'm back. No, I can't.
Oh,
I
you
can do it
can't.
wrong.
Yeah, you're right. What about Bane?
Yeah.
You got the stuffy nose. You play up some Bane.
I don't know. I
Oh
can't do
man,
it.
I thought it would really help.